Welcome to today's Explainer. We are diving headfirst into a dynamic that absolutely makes or breaks our educational systems: family-school partnerships. Whether you're an educator, a parent, or just someone who cares deeply about effective education, figuring out how to bridge the gap between the home and the classroom is absolutely crucial for student success. Let's get right into it.
So think about this for a second. Why is it that some family-school partnerships just thrive while others completely fall flat? That's the central mystery we're unpacking today. And honestly, the stakes here are incredibly high. For educators, a lack of partnership can literally mean struggling to reach a student. For parents, it often means feeling totally isolated from their child's educational journey. And for the student, well, it can be the deciding factor between falling behind and reaching their absolute full potential. Okay, let's dive into this. Our roadmap for today covers 1. The power of partnership, 2. Barriers to family engagement, 3. The parent information gap, 4. Strategies for school leaders, 5. Empowering parents as advocates, and finally, 6. Building trust every day.
Section 1. The power of partnership.
Look, family engagement, it can't just be an afterthought. It's a shared responsibility that is essential for real, meaningful school reform, especially when it comes to easing the cultural dissonance we often see in diverse student populations. To see what this actually looks like in practice, we can look to Epstein's 6 types of parent involvement. True partnership isn't just a parent showing up to a bake sale. It's a comprehensive framework. It spans parenting and communicating, to volunteering, learning at home, shared decision-making, and collaborating with the community. And here's a vital takeaway. Research completely backs this up. Low-income parents hold the exact same high values and attitudes about education as wealthy parents. The difference isn't a lack of desire. The difference is that they face significantly greater barriers to getting involved.
Section 2. Barriers to family engagement.
To actually fix this, we have to acknowledge the systemic problems and validate some very real frustrations. Educators often feel like they just can't reach families, while parents feel totally locked out of the system. According to Hanover research, these barriers usually fall into 2 main buckets. On one side, you have structural barriers. We're talking rigid work schedules, childcare issues, or transportation constraints. The solutions here are pretty easy to identify, even if they take resources to fix. But on the other side, you have cultural barriers, things like language gaps, a fundamental lack of understanding of how the school system even operates, or a lack of authentic cultural sensitivity from the school itself. And honestly, these cultural barriers are often the hardest to resolve because they require deep, systemic shifts in how a school does business.
But wait, there is a sneaky third hurdle: attitudinal barriers. These are the obstacles that pop up when parents are subtly or sometimes overtly excluded from the planning and review process. Overcoming attitudinal barriers requires a genuine understanding of a family's values, their beliefs, and their culture. We have to remember that for a lot of diverse families, past negative interactions with government entities or the school system itself can create a deep-seated lack of trust. Section 3. The parent information gap. If we want to fix the system, we need to know exactly where the communication is breaking down. A study published in the Exceptionality journal gives us some incredibly illuminating data on this, specifically in special education. When parents of students with disabilities were asked where they actually get their information, the answers were overwhelmingly interpersonal. Get this, 84.2% rely on direct conversations with teachers. Over 54% use paper handouts from the school, and nearly 53% get their info just by talking to other parents. The data makes it crystal clear. Parents lean heavily on personal, human-to-human interaction to navigate these complex systems. Now, on the flip side, take a look at the least used sources of information. 56.4% of parents said they never use the State Department of Education website, and 44% never use their specific school building's website. This highlights a pretty stark reality. The formal digital resources that school districts often pour massive amounts of time and money into, they're actually the least utilized by the parents who need them the most. Now, what's really interesting about this is the contrast in what parents actually know. The data shows parents have a really solid grasp of the basics. Almost 60% know a lot about how often individualized education program or IEP meetings are going to happen, but there is a massive drop-off when we talk about conflict resolution. Over 17% of parents know very little about how disagreements with the school will actually be resolved. So there is a severe gap in knowledge when it comes to their legal rights and dispute resolution. Section 4. Strategies for school leaders. So how do we take all these findings and turn them into real solutions? Well, it starts with a major mindset shift. As Edutopia points out, Parents of children with disabilities often carry years of advocacy fatigue and emotional stress. When educators begin relationships by deeply listening, they can create a foundation of trust. Schools absolutely have to stop viewing parents through this rigid lens of compliance, just checking boxes, and start leading with empathy, recognizing the sheer advocacy fatigue these families are carrying around every single day. One highly effective strategy is to completely restructure the IEP meeting itself. Educators can shift these from rushed, compliance-driven hurdles into genuine, collaborative planning sessions with 3 simple steps. First, send an input template home before the meeting even happens. Second, explicitly ask what goals are most important to the family right now. And third, actively utilize that parent input during the meeting to actually shape the student's goals. You've got to give the family a voice before the meeting even begins. On top of that, educators need to get into a positivity routine. Too often, the only time a parent hears from a school is when something goes wrong, right? We have to break that cycle of only calling home with bad news. By proactively sending out short, weekly, individualized updates that highlight a student's small successes, you prove to the family that the school truly sees and values their child. Section 5. Empowering parents as advocates. Building a true family-school partnership means moving way beyond treating parents as passive attendees at a meeting. We have to empower them to become vital change-makers. And this brilliantly illustrates that point. A striking 60.2% of parents independently seek out information on their own about how to advocate for their child. They genuinely want to be involved. They are actively searching for the tools to fight for their kids' education. And when we actually equip these parents, the results are totally transformative. As a Children's Agenda outlines, collective parent advocacy leads to improved, much more responsive educational policies. It directly enhances student performance because the policies actually end up matching what the students need. It builds incredibly strong school-parent relationships rooted in trust and collaboration. And ultimately, it empowers whole communities to hold educational systems accountable.
Section 6. Building trust every day.
To sustain all of this, from overcoming those deep cultural barriers to empowering parent advocates, we have to focus on the daily, human-centric actions. A huge part of this is aligning supports between home and school. Let's remember, parents have known their children the longest. They possess this incredible lived experience expertise. Schools must actively ask for and incorporate home strategies into the classroom. That could be a specific calming practice, a unique motivation system, or a communication style that just works better for that specific child. So the crucial point is this: trust grows through consistent, everyday actions. It does not just happen during formal IEP meetings. It's the short, encouraging note sent home in a backpack. It's the quick, positive phone call. It's the active listening and the genuine empathy shown on a random Tuesday. That is what actually builds a partnership. Which leaves us with a final provocative question to consider as we wrap up this explainer today. How will you change your approach tomorrow to turn your school's families into true educational partners? Take that question with you. Reflect on the data and the strategies we've explored today, and think about the immediate, empathetic actions you can take starting right now. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and keep learning.